Hello everyone and welcome back to Carwale. I'm Bilal and today we are here in Goa driving the Tata Ultros. Now the Tata Ultros is not really a new car, right? We first drove it back in 2019. So what are we doing with it today, you may ask? The answer is here. It's a Tata Ultros iCNG. But if it's a CNG, how was I able to put two bags in the boot? The solution to that mystery are those. There are two 30 kg CNG cylinders instead of one big one taking up the entire boot space. And those two cylinders are tucked in where usually a spare wheel is placed in. But you still get a spare wheel which is placed underneath the car. And now you have a boot space of 210 liters, which is slightly less compared to the standard one, but there's something better than nothing. There's additional bracing inside the boot and proper plastic materials to cover it up. It also provides access to the valves for both the cylinders when required. Now that we have seen what's in there, here are the pricing and variant-wise details of the Tata Ultros iCNG. Tata is offering 6 variants for the Ultros CNG. Pricing starts at 7.55 lakh rupees and goes up to 10.55 lakh rupees at showroom. Compared to the standard pure petrol version, this CNG version is around 95,000 to 1 lakh rupees more expensive. It uses the same 1.2 litre petrol engine and is available only with a 5-speed manual. There's no automatic yet. Tata hasn't officially given out any mileage figures for the Ultros CNG, which, to be honest, is what we and the buyers were most eager to know. But don't worry, we will be putting the Ultros CNG through a rigorous and consistent Carwale fuel efficiency test to find it out soon. Now, amongst the Ultros' usual competition, the Baleno and the Glanza, which are basically siblings, they are both offered with factory-fitted CNG, but only in 2 of their 4 trims. The Ultros CNG here has 6 variants on offer, and the pricing of Ultros CNG also undercuts the pricing of the pair. So there's an Ultros CNG variant for every budget and requirement. But what about the engine and its performance? So let's get behind the wheel and find out. Now this is the third car in Tata's lineup to get a factory-fitted CNG after the Tiago and the Tigor. And when we drove the Tata Tigor and the Tiago after that in the CNG version, we came back impressed. But what about the Ultros CNG? Now you get a 1.2 litre naturally aspirated 3-cylinder petrol engine, which in the CNG mode puts out 15 bhp less compared to the petrol mode, and the torque figures come down from 115 Newton meter to 103 Newton meter. We had experienced this in the Tigor and the Tiago CNG as well, that in the CNG mode, the engine is ever so slightly noisier, and when you switch to the petrol mode, it's slightly more smoother. But it's a good trade-off, and there's barely any difference between the two in everyday driving condition, and most of the drivers won't even notice it. We all know by now that this naturally aspirated petrol engine is not made for spirited driving. It is usable for everyday conditions, but it's not very fast. And now with CNG, it's down on power even more. You do have to plan your overtakes each time. But otherwise, this powertrain, despite the CNG addition, is quite easy to live with. Now, this is a CNG car, and obviously we had to test it out with 5 people on board. We have 5% on board in this Ultros CNG, and again, I have to tell the difference between the petrol mode and the CNG mode is barely noticeable. The car still pulls nice and easily. So I'm doing, say, a 40 kmph in 4th gear now, and the engine is running at 1000 rpm, but it's still able to pull. And again, the acceleration won't surprise you, or it won't be peppy enough, but it would do the job. To accommodate the CNG cylinders at the back and its braces, it has added 100 kgs of load at the back. And Tata says they have stiffened the rear springs and the dampers to compensate for it. and that the ride and handling would not have been affected by it. As for the steering, there are no drive modes anymore, but the steering, it still remains very direct, predictable, and it's linear as well. So when you want to throw the car around, which again most CNG drivers won't be doing it, but if you still want to drive it enthusiastically, the Tata Altroz has already been designed in such a way that it it does induces nice feel when you're ready to throw it around corners, and the same remains true with the CNG model as well. Now, in the conditions that we have experienced at the back roads of Goa, there were very little bad patches that we have experienced, and we will be testing out the suspension setup more in a more detail when we get the car back home. But now I can say that the suspension it's still very pliant, comfortable, and you won't have any complaints when it comes to ride quality. Tata's iCNG technology has a provision that you can start the car in the CNG mode itself. So even if you are in a state where you have low petrol, you don't have to worry. You can just start the car in the CNG mode. As for the safety, there is a micro switch. When you open a fuel filler cap, the engine will turn off on its own and it won't turn on again. There's also a fire extinguisher placed underneath the driver's seat, which is a mandate for CNG cars, and it's provided here. Despite offering a boot space and placing the cylinders where the spare wheel used to be, there's still a spare wheel in this car. I thought the Tata might provide just a tire inflator kit and we're done with it. But no, there is a spare wheel placed underneath the boot, and you can access it through a winch like you used to have in the older Safari, if you remember. So you open it through the winch underneath the boot, and the tire comes out at the back. So that's a good thing to have. Finally, we come to the styling and interior of the Altroz iCNG. Now, Tata is offering 4 color options for this, including this brilliant looking Opera Blue, and there's dual tone option as well, so where you get the red, white and blue with a blacked out roof. There's no Tata Altroz iCNG Dark Edition yet, but it won't be difficult for Tata to bring in at a later date. On the inside, there are a few feature additions for the Altroz iCNG, but the most important one is this, a sunroof which makes it debut in the Altroz lineup for the first time. And the icing on the cake is it is voice operated as well. So let's try it out. Open sunroof.
Okay, opening.
So it works, but it takes a little time, but it works. More feature addition includes a wireless charging pad, a Type-C port, and an inbuilt air purifier. There are changes to the instrument cluster to accommodate the CNG nature of this car. Now, the Altroz is already a very feature-loaded hatchback, and this iCNG version, there are more variants to choose from, and this fully loaded version, it takes things up a notch. The CNG prices have increased by up to 70% in the last few years. But despite the increase in prices, it is still more affordable than petrol. And then the CNG mileage of the car is also much more. So you can still go around 200 to 240 kilometers between the two tankfuls of CNG. And this makes it a great and affordable alternative to the petrol-only cars. Sure, you do have to wait in line every time you go to a fuel station for a top-up, and then you'll have to visit the CNG pump more often than required in a conventionally powered cars, and the long queues are a separate topic altogether. Despite these shortcomings, CNG cars are more affordable for everyday runs, which is a reason enough for many buyers to get them home. As for the fitness to purpose, the Tata Altroz iCNG does everything well. It's easy to drive, should be light on your pocket as a CNG car ought to be. It's feature loaded as well, and there are 6 variants to choose from, so there's one for every budget. And we will be testing it out for its real world mileage and performance when we get the car back home, so stay tuned for that. If you like this video, do hit that like button and share it forward to those who's looking to buy a new CNG car. Also, I didn't mention at the start of this video, but I'm requesting it now. do consider subscribing to the Carwale YouTube channel. And if you have any other questions regarding the Tata Altroz iCNG, do write them down in the comment section below and we'll try to answer them all. This is Bilal signing off. Until next time.